So Eric runs a company here, right over there. Actually, is his office on the side there, called RevBoss. And I will let him tell a little bit more about that. But first, kind of want to lay, I guess, the backstory of your career path to that led you up to RevBoss, going back all the way to Bronto. I think you were number one employee at
Number one.
first employee. So way back when there actually were dinosaurs, he was at Bronto. But before, like, there was a huge community over here, and I know that when we chatted the other week, you were kind of saying like how much it's grown and everything. Can you kind of talk about sort of the past of where kind of this area was and like what you've seen over the years?
So my first job out of college was like a crappy IT job at UNC. And through some bizarre connections, I met Chaz, one of the founders at Bronto, and that's how I ended up getting hired there. And I was the first employee at the company. And they just got bought for $200 million, right? So they had a pretty long and successful ride. And I interviewed with them in an office about the size of like those two couches put together, right? So it was like early. And as far as I knew, like nothing like this happened. I think there was like the annual deck party at RTP, and I imagine none of you guys have ever been to the deck party or would know what the deck party is. But like there wasn't a scene. Like downtown Durham was a dump. Like it was a not pleasant place to be. So it's really fun to have started doing this kind of work a long time ago, and now see that there are lots of events like this and people like you and really cool companies all over the place. It's literally like unrecognizable from 10 or 12 years ago.
So I think I've even kind of chatted with Michael Goodman, and he said that before they went in and like redid all these buildings, there were actually like outlines of people taped on the ground, not for where people were murdered, but where they used these buildings for SWAT team practice. And so they had like people taped, and they would do like paintball wars and everything like all throughout these buildings. So when they first like went in, like they found like all these like random
It's true.
paintball.
So I toured. I was like Michael Goodman gave Joe and Chaz and me a tour of American Tobacco before it was renovated. There were trees, literally trees, like growing inside of the building. It was like mind-boggling, and there was like a 12-foot barbed wire fence all around it, and yeah, it's unbelievable what has happened in Durham, and it's really cool to have seen it and played like a teensy-weensy part in it.
So you left Bronto to start your own thing called Argyle Social, and what kind of gave you the itch to sort of take that leap of faith and go off and start your own thing?
So I left Bronto to go to business school, actually, and I did the full-time MBA program at UNC just because, I was talking with a friend the other day about like if you think about your life, you don't do things longer than 5 years. Like elementary school's longer than 5 years, but middle school's 3 years, high school's 4 years, college is 4 years. And I had kind of gotten to like 4.5 years at Bronto and was kind of like, I just don't think I want to be here anymore, and didn't know what I wanted to do. And I went to business school, and that was a lot of fun, and knew that I wanted to start another company because I had this really great experience. And unlike everyone else in my class, I graduated unemployed, directionless, like idealist, and spent a lot of time just like goofing off and hanging out with interesting people and thinking about interesting ideas, and kind of eventually came up with something that became Argyle Social, and went and recruited my co-founder, Adam Cavati, and yeah, we started a company.
So, all right, so you started Argyle Social, and you had some fundraising success. Can you kind of talk about, the going out there, raising some money for this idea that you guys have? And then, I guess maybe before that, explain sort of what Argyle Social was.
So, yeah, it was. There's your we'll just give away the story. There's your spoiler alert. So I worked at Bronto, which is an email marketing company, and had a lot of experience in marketing software and selling marketing software to marketers. And around this time was 2009, and Facebook and Twitter were really becoming meaningful marketing platforms. And so Argyle was a social media marketing platform. And we started around the same time as all of the other 50,000 social media marketing platforms started. And Adam, my co-founder, really sharp guy. We managed to hack out a really crappy beta that did some stuff. We managed to browbeat some people into using it, and we leveraged that into raising like $300,000. And from there, hired a small team, got some customers, raised 1 point something million, like 1.2 or 1.3 million dollars, and really started to see some growth. And all the while, while we were playing onesie twosie small ball, our competitors were raising 10 million, $30 million. And yeah, eventually, like, we just ran out of gas, and it got unpleasant. Like, while on the outside it looked really good, we were raising money and building product and hiring people, like, it started to look bleak, and it got not fun really fast. So it was kind of educating for me to kind of see the good, but also see the bad of starting a company. And we made some decisions that weren't the best decision, but felt like the right decision. A great example is there were free tools and there were enterprise tools. You could get social media marketing for $0 to $10 a month, or you could get social media marketing software for $5,000 a month or $10,000 a month. And we thought there was going to be a huge market at like $500 to $1,500 a month. And despite all evidence to the contrary, we believed that for a long, long time. And eventually, like, it was a no man's land, right? And so we didn't have the right product and didn't have the right market. And the company just kind of floundered so one of a handful of companies around that time that raised some money, got some quick traction, and kind of the wheels fell off for a variety of different reasons.
And I think it sounds like that was something that you guys really couldn't kind of predict because it was so new, and I think a lot of people come out and they create problems that they want to solve that don't really exist. And so you kind of really need like a validated problem. But like with you guys, the market was so new just because like social media had just really taken off. And
yeah, well, I'll tell you, the like post-mortem on social media marketing software is like, that's a very long story and probably beyond the scope of a fireside chat. But yeah, it was really kind of, it was fun. Like, it was fun. Even like before things got really not fun, even when it got really, really, really hard, it was still really fun because we had good customers, we had a good product, we were solving cool problems, we were building cool stuff, and the people that we were working with just really great. And it stinks that it didn't work out, but you know what? Most times it doesn't work out. But I met so many great people and learned so many really good things, and really, I think I can't remember if I wrote about it or talked to somebody about it, but you measure investors measure investment returns in multiples, 10x, 100x, or if it's Uber, it's like kabillion-x. So like Argyle was a 0x return financially for me, although the investors got a fair chunk of their money back. They probably got 0.5x maybe, which is better than 0. But I'll tell you, it was like a 10x return for me on everything else in terms of learning things and meeting people and building relationships and yeah.
So last question about Argyle, and then I'll kind of let you off the hot seat of that one. So you ultimately, I guess, kind of were let go of your own company that you started. And naturally, I guess the next morning the sun came up and, somewhere it didn't freeze over and all this fun stuff. Can you kind of talk about, I guess, maybe what were you thinking and what were the feelings, I guess, that you went through after that and to kind of pick yourself back up and to get going again?
Yeah, so I got fired from the company I started. It's not uncommon. I know more than a handful of friends who've gotten fired from the company that they started. And it is what it is, right? So, I mentioned how much fun it was when things got hard and then things got bleak and things got really bad. It was actually really fun until it, started to see the writing on the walls, like this company's going to implode. And it was really frustrating. And, the investors were doing what they, the board and the investors and myself, there's like a lot of like parties and interests around the table. At one point, investors were asking to put more money in the company, and then 4 months later, they weren't interested in putting more money in the company, and the company was kind of left. We had to like drastically cut costs, which we did. We couldn't keep selling, and ultimately it became clear that this thing's not going to make it as a revenue-generating company. We need to like scale this thing back, package up the assets, and just get what we can get. And that's when I got forced out, and it surprised everybody but me because I saw it coming way in advance. And by the time it happened, to be very honest, it felt great. Like I went home and like read books to my son and woke up the next morning and it felt amazing. Like that it wasn't my problem anymore. I really hate to say that, but it's so true. It's so true. And Adam, my co-founder, whom I still see around town every now and then, he ran the business for probably like another year and managed to sell pieces of the company to a couple different people to help the investors get their money back. And I'll tell you, I didn't envy him because he had to fire more people and he had to like really just like deal with a lot of stuff. So frankly, like getting fired was like the best outcome that could have possibly happened in that situation. And it didn't take me long to realize that. And we were talking about this like Will and I prepped this conversation a little bit. He was like, "Are you okay talking about it?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine talking about it." And what really made me kind of come around to it was I love basketball. I love NBA basketball. And I don't know how many times George Karl has been fired. Like, I don't know how many times, like, Lenny Wilkins was fired. But, like, the head coaches get fired, right? And, it's not always, there's a lot of reasons that things that go wrong, but somebody's got to be accountable for it. And that's ultimately, like, how it felt to me. I was like, well, this situation, it's not 0% my fault, but it's not 100% my fault either. But you know what? I'm 100% accountable. So, yeah, I'll take my lumps and sleep late tomorrow. Call me if you need anything.
But I think, that's a great analogy, and I remember when you were telling me that because, the head coach gets all the praise when everything goes right, but they're the first one that you point the finger to when everything goes wrong. And so now, but you're coaching a new team.
Yeah, man, it's a good team too. Zach is here. Zach, woo, RevBoss.
So I guess what on earth possessed you to start another company?
Yeah, I try not to think about it because I have 2 kids, 4 and 2. My wife stays home as a full-time mom. Got a mortgage. Yeah, it's horrifying. What did possess me to do this? It's the only thing that I do. It's like what I like to do. It's the only. I can't imagine doing anything else. Like I had like such a beautiful experience at Bronto in the early in my career, and it's just like how can I not do this? And even though Argyle didn't work out, it was still such like a beautiful and amazing and fun experience. And now RevBoss is doing what it's doing, and it's going pretty well. Like, more good than bad. Everything is broken, everything is awesome, but the people are really amazing. We're solving a really valuable, really hard problem, and we're building cool stuff. And maybe it'll all explode, maybe it won't. But it's fun. It's kind of fun doing it while we're doing it.
So what is your elevator pitch? Like if you had 1 minute to explain RevBoss.
I can explain it in less than a minute.
All right, ready, go.
Push a button and get a sales pipeline. That's what we do. We do on-demand sales development for B2B companies and SaaS companies. So there's my less than a minute explanation. The longer explanation, if you want to sell to vice presidents of marketing at companies that look like XYZ, we've built up process, and that process is largely software driven, to churn up engagement and conversations with people like that. So most of our customers today are early and mid-stage SaaS companies that, they've got something, but they're not sure who they want to sell it to or how they want to sell it. And we are very, very, very good at sourcing companies, sourcing people, sourcing contact information, and churning up engagement with your target customers. We're a little bit in a little bit of a funny company in that we are a tech-enabled service that's gradually becoming less service and more tech-enabled, and gradually becoming more software. So we've got a web application that automates the process from tell me something about the types of companies, tell me something about the types of people, and using a combination of software and public APIs and cloud workers, a team in Nepal to whom we pay like 1 to 3 cents per transaction, we can turn these raw inputs into thousands upon thousands of customer prospect records. So the name of the company, where it's located, blah, 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 the name of the vice president of marketing, first name, last name, job title, email address, phone number, and we can do it really, really cheap. And we can do it really, really fast, and it's automated. So our vision is to make it such that our customers push a button and get a pipeline. And so we've done a pretty good job so far of getting from push a button, get a list of people that you care about. And right now, turning that into a pipeline is a little bit of a human-driven process, though we've got some clear steps to automate that as well.
And I remember you telling me like some of the difference between this company and maybe some other kind of like SaaS type companies is that you guys sort of built the system and the engine for your internal team, really. And so like the guts of it, and like it doesn't have to have some slick, cool UI. Like it just works, and it works for you guys. Yeah,
so that's a really funny thing that we've learned. So like we're solving a problem that I had at Bronto when I was 24 years old, and whatever, and a problem we had at Argyle, and a problem that any like B2B, any like sales-driven company has this problem of pipeline development, right? You can't just wait for it to happen. Somebody's got to sell something to somebody, right? And so the company actually started with me as a consultant. After Argyle and before RevBoss, I just sold my time to the highest bidder for about 12 months, and it was really cool. And I worked with a lot of really fun companies and learned a lot and did a lot of this. And so over time, just really figured out a good process for automating sales, particularly like early funnel stuff. And as we did more and more of it, it was like, oh, well, you know what? We're just doing the same thing over and over. I bet a computer could do it really fast and really cheap. And so we've just gradually just started picking off bits of this process and turned it into a web application. And what Will was getting at that's been really cool is right now, we have a handful of external users, but the primary users work at RevBoss. So because it's internal software, it's like buggy and ugly and there's like so much like overhead you don't have to deal with, because you don't have to we don't care about our users, right? Like we don't care that things break or don't work, and as a result we've gotten so much mileage out of not a lot of resources, because we're only focused on like the sort of the core thread that matters. And for example, our application doesn't have search. It's basically a CRM that doesn't have search. And you know what? We'll have search at some point. It's been on the to-do list. It just keeps not getting done because it's just not that important. So it's been amazing to have these constraints, and it's been amazing to have these constraints in a world without actual users. And it's really led us to make kind of almost like counterintuitive, bizarre like product investments that have turned out to be really good.
And I think it sounds like that's a smarter way, especially for you guys to go, because it doesn't take you $300,000 to build this huge slick app. I mean, it takes you a fraction of that works for you guys, and so you don't have to pour all this money into an app that might not ever take off.
Yeah, well, that's been what's cool is we're bootstrapped, we're profitable, we're growing every month. Knock on wood, and it's been an interesting way to build software, right? Because we have chosen to take that path, and we may keep doing that or we may not. It's like imposed very real constraints on our decision making, and instead of like a great example at Argyle, building a bunch of stuff that was cool and were really good ideas that nobody used. Like not like no lie, we built some amazing stuff that nobody used. Versus what we're building at RevBoss. Like we are stretching this thing to its absolute breaking point every single day, and it gets just like incrementally better in the most impactful way with every deployment.
All right, so maybe one or two more questions, and then I'll open it up, get maybe a few out there. That way we can get folks home, and I'm sure people are kind of hungry maybe. All right, so other than kind of the process of building the app and all that kind of stuff, what other things would you say are different this time around, maybe management of people or, other processes that you've kind of put in place that you learned from previous?
I don't know, actually.
All right, we can skip that one.
No. So I can answer it. I can talk about it. It's kind of funny. Like in some ways, you're just like, well, I'm still me. I'm still good at this stuff, and still kind of crappy at this stuff. Once you've started one company and then you start another company, you kind of learn like, oh, okay, well, these are the things I'm not good at. I'm gonna not do those. But I mean, definitely like potholes that we've known to avoid, and like dumb decisions. I just described one about product development. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely. I mean, the game just slows down a little bit, right? I mean, like I have accomplished nothing in the grand scheme, but it's a lot easier. Like the RevBoss day to day, I feel like I've got a pretty decent handle on it, versus like the Argyle day to day. I was like, right? It's just because it's just experience and sort of seeing a lot of stuff and just getting better at your job. I will tell you this too. At Argyle, I was not a very good manager, and I've gotten a little bit better at that. And the secret to good management is actually hiring people better than you that can hide the fact that you're not a good manager. And I'm still not a great manager, but I've got a really good team of people that just kind of take care of stuff so that I can sort of do the things that I do. And that's been a pretty big difference.
All right, last one for me. So what does the future look like for RevBoss? Are you guys hiring? You trying to grow the team? Are you trying to stay where you're at now and maybe get it a little bit more refined and behind the scenes?
Yeah, so we, speaking very, very honestly in a room full of my closest friends, and I'm sure this is being recorded and like broadcast intergalactically, we're kind of at a funny position, right? So we've got a full-time developer in the chute to hopefully start in the next week or two. That's going to be a big thing. And so the question is like, okay, well, we don't have very much product, but we have enough, and we've got one sales guy who's tonning it. I mean, doing a really good job. So it's like, okay, well, do we spend the next dollar on more product, or do we just like try to duplicate what this one sales rep is doing? So in like the very, very short term, I'm frankly struggling with, do we build more software, or do we just take what we have and just try to sell the crap out of it? In terms of the big picture, I mean, we've sort of proven, there's still a lot of risk and still a lot of uncertainty, but we've proven a lot, and I think we can build a big business, and the goal is to build a big business, right? Like we don't want to just kind of be like the local RevBoss people that are really nice. Like we want to build something big and cool just because, our purpose, we talk about our purpose at RevBoss. Our purpose is twofold: to help our people achieve their goals and dreams, people being our customers and our employees, and to leave a dent in our sort of little sales automation universe. And you got to get big to really do those things on a big scale. So we want to get big.
Awesome. All right, so that is all I've got for you. A little bit of time for 2 or 3 questions. Yes, sir.
Yeah, you talked about your second company getting overwhelmed by the 30, 40, $50 million raise guys. But I'm guessing a lot of those guys went out of business as well. And the question is, you know, a lot of us globally, as you start to see a little bit of success, get a huge amount of people trying to say, you got to go out to the West Coast, you got to go
Yeah.
to the big rounds. And so there's always that tough point of, okay, do you go meet with them? What if they tell you to relocate? Would they invest 10 million here? And are you going to be able to spend it effectively? Or are you just bringing in an investor that could just destroy the company? So, you know, you're bootstrapping this one, but your last one got run over by just tons of West Coast cash, I would assume. Yeah.
So we're bootstrapping so far, right? I'm certainly not opposed to raising capital. The companies that raised 20, 30, $40 million, Google bought one, Salesforce bought one, Oracle bought one, Adobe bought one. The other sort of biggest one that raised massive capital is Hootsuite, which is, I don't even want to know what it's worth. It would probably make me throw up. And so ultimately, like, not raising the big chunk of change to really build the enterprise value is probably what really hurt us in terms of getting a deal over the line. So, I mean, it's a good point. And I'll tell you, like, I did do the rounds, particularly on the East Coast, to raise money, and they weren't going to touch us here. More than one's like, if you move the company here, we'll invest in you right now. Like, you move to Boston, term sheets wait. It's like, and the statement, and this is also several years ago, and the statement then was like, I don't know anybody. Like, I don't know anybody that can help you in North Carolina or Durham. Like, I don't know who you're like great. I don't have like my director, my VP of marketing or my VP of sales that I can slot in to like really help you. And it hurt us. I don't think that's nearly a problem now. But I don't think that's a 100% resolved problem.
Yeah, I would definitely say, like, seems like we've got some more resources here than we did several years ago, you know, to kind of help out. And two, like, you know, relating it to sports, you know, a little bit. My dad's huge into baseball, and he would always say, you know, if you're good and you can play and you're in some podunk little town, they'll find a way to find you, you know. And you know, I think as we get bigger and grow this area, I think that's going to just help us even more and more. I mean, some of the biggest guys that you hear of that play, you know, ball, you know, in big clubs, they're from the smallest little towns you can ever imagine, and somebody found them somehow, or they got their name out there somehow and got picked up. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's you know, like we had Justin from WebPix last month, and
It hasn't hurt WebPix. It hasn't hurt Bronto. It hasn't hurt whatever that pharma company.
Sprout, yeah, $2 billion.
Yeah, didn't seem to matter to them. Like it's not
Yeah.
an excuse, but it's real. It's different. I mean, I'm not going to say but it's different.
Oh yeah,
It's different.
Sure.
But yeah, it can be done.
Others?
Two questions. One, what is your exit strategy? And two, kind of talk about the tactical steps to how you're dealing with bootstrapping and making those steps to that forward. What's your
The exit strategy is build a great product that solves a meaningful problem for our customers and do that over and over and over and build a great business. And the exit strategy was some future event that will happen. Like, I don't think about it at all. If you build something meaningful, no matter where you are, if you can hit a baseball, like, they'll come find you. So the exit strategy is to build a great company. And that, I don't mean to be, you know, curt or whatever, but like, I just try not to think about it because I've got, you know, everything is awesome and everything is broken, right? Your other question was about, so I guess sort of strategically, like, I guess sort of restate it again. Yeah. Yeah, also, I mean, this actually I do think about my exit strategy. So, like, there are multiple, like, billion-dollar marketing automation software companies. Marketo, HubSpot, Salesforce, Pardot, Acton's probably worth $1 billion now. Eloqua's worth multiple billions of dollars. These companies built software to automate marketing, which is a small seat organization with a budget, but not necessarily the same budget authority as a sales organization would have, right? So there's like precedent in terms of take business function, put it on rails, make teams more effective, and there's a path to world domination and riches. Sales teams have been eating vomit for years. I don't know how many of you people sell on a day in and day out basis, but it hasn't really changed a lot in the past 10 years. Making cold calls, sending emails, doing whatever, now there's LinkedIn, but it's still kind of the same drudgery, right? So we want to do what these companies have done for marketing automation in terms of taking core processes and enriching people with machines, right? We want to do the same thing in sales. And the problems are very different and the solution is very different, but sales teams generally way bigger than marketing teams. Sales teams generally can get whatever they want, right? Like if the VP of sales goes to the CEO and says, I need $10,000 to buy this thing and it's going to help me sell more, you know what the CEO is going to say? Yes, by all means, right? So there's a lot of kind of good ingredients bubbling there. And all of these marketing automation software companies need to find growth, and they're going to find growth in sales. So a lot of these marketing automation software companies, I think, are going to buy sales automation companies at some point. Maybe. I could be completely wrong. I'm probably completely wrong. I'm almost certainly completely wrong. But, yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking about.
All right, one more. Time for one more before we let him off the hot seat. Or not? Come on. Nobody? No? No? No?
Thank you guys for listening.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it. This was
Thanks,
fun.
Eric.
Want more secrets from inside the minds of entrepreneurs and innovators around the world? Subscribe to our YouTube channel here and click the link below. We'll send you our best interviews and strategies for growing your business.